Shalom Aleichem. Welcome to Tanya Outside In. We're up to Perek Hey, Perek Hamishi, Perek 5. Okay. We've discussed in the last class, we discussed mitzvahs and how they're called the levushim of the neshama, the clothes, the garments of the neshama. Now we're going to be discussing what learning Torah is. Torah is a qualitatively different experience, or qualitatively different. It's qualitatively different from doing all other mitzvahs. Okay, so on page Tes, Perek Hey, the Tosefos Bia Behativ Lashon Tfisa. So now to really get things clear, we have to understand what it means, the word tefisa, to grasp something. What does it mean to grasp? Shamalio leist machshavet tefisa bach. As Eliyahu said, then no thought can grasp you, Hashem. No thought can grasp you. So he goes on, V'hinei, kol seichel shemaskil u'masi b'sichlei eiza muskal. Every intelligence that grasps something in its intelligence, some kind of idea, it grabs it, the thing that it's understanding, and enwraps it, so to speak, surrounds it, and the muskal, the idea, the concept, is grasped and surrounded and enclosed within the mind that grasped it and understood it. Okay, so the concept of grasping is the same in regards to like actually grasping something like this. The idea of your mind grasping something and your the idea of your mind grasping something and your hand grasping something is the same phenomenon. Shalom Michael. The idea is, if you've grasped something, it means you know where it begins and you know where it ends. You've got it. Now there's levels to grasping, obviously, but grasping, just like with my telephone, my hand surrounds the phone. And if it was a basketball, for example, I wouldn't be able to grasp it because my hands aren't big enough to surround a basketball. So my hand can't grasp a basketball. Maybe Shaquille O'Neal's hand could grasp a basketball because it's big enough to surround it. But the point is that it needs to surround it. That's what it means to grasp something with your hand. But it's exactly the same idea to grasp something with your mind. Grasping something with your mind means that your mind surrounds the idea, meaning you see where the idea begins, you see the middle of the idea, and you see where the idea ends. Okay? So now when it comes to philosophical ideas, there's endless levels, especially godly ideas. But for example, my expertise is photography. Yeah, so photography does have an end. Quite deep, but it does have an end. So my mind grasps photography, and I'm able to process all the different variables or whatever's going on at any given moment, because my mind has grasped it my mind has completely surrounded it, just like Shaquille O'Neal's hand could go around an entire well, not a basket, it could completely surround a tennis ball or something, yeah, or a baseball, whereas my hand would only partially grasp it. So there's levels to grasping. So when you've mastered a subject, when you've really mastered a subject, that's like, so to speak, a massive hand completely encircling a sphere. And if you've semi-mastered it, there's levels and levels. But the idea of grasping is the fact that your mind surrounds the idea and your idea becomes enclosed, surrounded, and grasped by the mind. Okay, the mind is within the idea is within the mind, contained within the mind. But you might say something like, "I got it," or "I chapped." Yeah. Okay. The gum. Now, this is adding another nuance to the image that we're building. The gum has seichel melubash b'muska b'shar shemasiga v'toyv b'seichel. At the same time as you've understood the idea, your mind is also encapsulated within the idea, because there's endless levels to understanding, especially when we're talking about these ideas, godly ideas, Torah ideas. There's so many levels to understanding. So the process of coming to understand means your mind is engulfed within the idea. You might say something like, this is beyond me. Yeah, or like the idea of I'm drowning in an idea. There's a good idiom that people use when you don't understand something. It's you get the idea. I can't think of the word right now. But so the idea is when it comes to intellectual understanding, yeah, especially when talking about deep subjects, as you grasp the idea, your mind surrounds the idea, but it's also simultaneously engulfed within the idea, because you're still able to percolate and question so there's this dual experience of your mind surrounding the idea, but at the same time your mind is absorbed into the idea. Okay, so we're going to run with this imagery. Okay, derech Moshe. Like, for example, when someone grasps any kind of halacha, whether it's in the Mishnah or in the Gemara, to its full length, al buria, until he really gets it clear, his seichel grasps it and surrounds it. But at the time, as he's dwelling into it, his mind is also within the idea. So the idea is surrounded by his mind, and his mind is surrounded by the idea. V'hinei, halacha zu, this halacha, so when you're understanding a halacha, and it's really amazing with halacha, because we've been like, so to speak, groomed to understand or to feel that Torah is extremely complicated, and there's, to really understand it is completely beyond you. But that's not true. And that's the whole point of Torah. We can actually understand halachas, simple halachas, quite easily. And it's not rocket science whatsoever. And that's actually the miracle of Torah. The miracle of Torah is that it's not something that's beyond us. This idea of like talking about the Torah is it's something that's impenetrable, and for what the Torah, don't get me wrong, the Torah is infinite and goes on forever and ever. But the idea of grasping a halacha, like the fact that you know where a mezuzah goes, it goes on the third, it goes on the right side of the section. Yeah, the fact that the mezuzah has a certain specific place, that's called grasping the halacha. Okay, now there's levels and levels, but you can't not underestimate. Is that the word? You can't downplay the idea of understanding the halacha on the most simple level about how choshev that actually is. Okay, so
the more you learn about halacha, the more you see that there's lots of different shittas to everything. There's no such thing as a simple halacha.
You're right, but there's the psak halacha, and if you have a rav, there is very much such a thing as a simple halacha, and you need a rav. And once you've understood what the halacha is, yeah, that's the halacha, and that is grasping the Ribbono Shel Olam. That is the Ribbono Shel Olam. You're right. In regards to, that's what I was trying to say. The world has told us that just like what you said, exactly what you just said, is that you can't understand the Torah, because for every halacha you understand, you'll find 1,000 different shitas that say the opposite of that, yeah? But the whole point of the Torah is that's not the case. The whole point of the Torah is it has to come to the Psak halacha. It has to be understood. With me? So it's nuanced in that there's maybe something different for everyone to understand, and you can keep going deeper. But the understanding of the Psak halacha, that is mamash kodesh kadashim, and that's what he's saying here. So he says like this: it went up in the Rebbeinu Shalom's mind. Reuven kach v'kach derech moshel. That when Reuven claims so and so derech moshel, v'Shimon kach v'kach, and he goes against Shimon, and Shimon says no, it's like this. Yeah, psak b'neihem kach v'kach. It's going to be that the psak halacha is so and so. V'af im loy haya v'loy yihya adavar zeh le'olam lavoy le'mishpat al ta'inaz t'vio yisaylu. And even if this halacha is never going to come to pass, that it's a crazy hypothetical situation that was never and will never be, even so, mikol makom, since that this is what went up in his Ratzon and his Chochmah, Shel Kodesh Baruch Hu, she'im yito in zekach v'zekach. If this one will claim this and this one will claim this, yeah, psak kach, that the psak will be like this. When a man understands this and grasps this in his mind, psak zeh, this psak, kahalacha, ha'arucha b'mishnah or b'gemora or poiskim, as it is written in the Mishnah or the Gemara or the poiskim, harizeh, this person masig v'toifis v'maki b'sichloi v'tzoidim ha'achmasa shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He is grasping and surrounding, in his mind that no machshava can grasp him. Remember, any thought you have about God is wrong. By definition, it's absolutely wrong. Whereas when you understand the halakha, so if you were to have a thought that was right about Hashem, yeah, then you would have grasped him at least a little bit. Like if there's a guy, for example, let's say there's a guy, there's a simchadik guy, he's simchadik, and I grasp that. I'm thinking about him being simchadik. In a certain sense, on a certain level, I've grasped him. But by the Rebbeinu Shalom, it says delays machshava tefisa bei. There is no machshava that can grasp him bichlal. So if you think you know something about God himself, it's wrong. However, he enclosed his Ratzon and his Chochmah in the mitzvahs of the Torah. So when you understand how the mezuzah goes on your doorpost, or what it is written in the tefillin, you are actually grasping the Rebbeinu Shalom. That is your mind grasping the Rebbeinu Shalom. He enclosed himself in these concepts, in these ideas, and your mind can grasp these ideas. A equals B equals C. The fact that he's enclosed in this idea and you've grasped this idea means you've grasped him. That's amazing. That's an absolute nice. That's the most miraculous thing that exists in reality, is the fact that Hashem managed to shtup himself into the Torah. He managed to contain his infinity, his absolute infinity, into the 315,000 letters of the Torah, or the 600,000 letters, however you break it down, and the concepts and the ideas. Okay, so it's like there's so many things we can say right now.
It's like that picture of Lubavitcher Rebbe over there.
Why?
I don't know. It's made up of, I don't know what it's made up of, but every prat fits together in a whole.
But the thing is, in every prat is the artist. The artist exists in every stroke, the entire artist. This is what we're saying, is that the entire, not just a piece of Hashem. Hashem is indivisible. So in every halacha and every concept in the Torah is the Rebbeinu Shalom b'chvoid v'atzmoi. Just like in every stroke of the every stroke of the artist's brush, the entire artist is contained. So too in every inyan and every concept within the Torah, the entire Rebbeinu Shalom is contained. And by understanding that idea, you are grasping the Rebbeinu Shalom. The Rebbeinu Shalom is becoming, he's becoming panimi to your mind. So it's just as a quick idea, I thought about, if you were to think of the idea about, even if it will never come to mishpat. So it's a big inyan in the yeshivas discussing ideas or discussing halachas that are absolutely, I don't want to say irrelevant, but just, I mean, basically irrelevant, as in they're never going to come to pass, or they're just completely hypothetical. Yeah. How comes the Rebbeinu Shalom is in those ideas? So it's very obvious that just, I thought if you talk about a guy who really cares about getting, he's very time conscious, and he always travels in the fastest possible way. Yeah. So if you now make up some kind of funny scenario and you imagine that they've created a new train that is, or let's say he likes to travel in the fastest possible way, but he prefers the ground to the air. Yeah. So now you can make up a funny scenario that in 100 years from now, they've developed an airplane that flies at 20,000 miles per hour. And they've developed a train, a hover train that travels at 1,000 miles per hour. Now we could have a discussion. We know that this guy likes to travel fast, but he doesn't like to travel high. So now we could have a discussion, a very real discussion about this very hypothetical situation, because there is no such thing as a plane that travels at 10,000 miles per hour, and there's no such thing as a hover train that travels at 1,000 miles per hour. But now that we know that he likes to travel fast, but he doesn't like to travel high, now we have to ask the question, well, how high? Maybe the hover train, the fact that it's already hovering, he might as well take the aeroplane because it's already above the ground. V'chule, v'chule. You understand? So we are understanding the man, even though we've created a hypothetical, ridiculous situation. That dissolves to the actual Ratzon of this mensch. So too, when we're learning hypothetical and irrelevant situations in the Gemara, yeah, we are still touching the essence of the Rebbeinu Shalom. Now, that doesn't mean that you should be doing that, because it would make sense to be learning things that are applicable, because then you're, so to speak, killing two birds with one stone. But even when you're discussing minutiae in halachas of the Beis Hamikdash that aren't even nogea right now, you're still touching the Ratzon Hashem b'chvod v'atzmo mamash mamash. Everyone's clear on that? So the Alter Rebbe brought this example of Reuven and Shimon having some kind of financial machlokas, because it's a little bit easier to understand that when you're learning about the pratim of tefillin, that you're touching the Rebbeinu Shalom. But what about when you're mamash in a base din and you've got these two guys shouting at each other about, one said I paid you, the other one said you didn't? Is the Rebbeinu Shalom really there? And the Alter Rebbe says yes, absolutely, 100%. Absolutely. If you go through the due process and you find out what the halacha is in this situation, you've been masig the Rebbeinu Shalom. You hupped the Rebbeinu Shalom.
Well, I think that the Rebbeinu Shalom wouldn't be there even more than Shalom, because the Torah is supposed to help us integrate everything.
So Eliezer is saying it would mean maybe he would be more in this case, because the Torah is meant to be applicable between man and man, I suppose. But the idea is that, well, the Goyesha Bate Dinim also deal with the Beit Mishpat, the Goy, and they also deal with Reuven and Shimon claiming this and this. The Goyeshon isn't there when they define what he's saying, whereas they don't discuss the filling. Whereas with when it comes to arguments between people, when it's discussed with poskim who understand the halachas and Ratzon Hashem, then the Ratzon Hashem is mamash there. Okay. Okay. V'loy b'retzoynoi v'chachmasoi ki im b'hislabshusam b'chalachas ha'aruchos lefaneinu. There's no other way of grasping Hashem's ratzon and chokhmah other than through the Torah. No other way. V'gam sichloi melubash behem, and what he said before now is plugging this in here. Also, at the same time, your seichel is melubash, is enclosed within these ideas. V'hu yichud nifla she'ein yichud kamoyu, and this is a wondrous unity, and there is no unity like this. V'lo arka nimtza klal b'gashmias liyois le'ahadim u'miyuchadim mamash mekol tzadipina, and there is. It's so heilig that Hashem didn't even make a moshul for it in this world. There isn't even a moshul for this level of yichud. This level, see, in the word of Gashmias, a yichud means one big thing comes along and swallows a small thing. But we are talking about one thing swallowing A, swallowing B, and B swallowing A at the same time. That doesn't exist in Gashmias. So it's like Hashem didn't even make a moshul for that in Gashmias, although it does exist in the idea of a concept, because it's still the concept of when somebody understands architecture, for example, it's still the same idea as makif umukaf, we call it. Makif means you're surrounded, so you're surrounded. Mukaf means you're being surrounded. So even in architecture,
Ish for Isha.
Ish for Isha.
There's something that's
Well,
absorbed and something that surrounds.
but they need to a hug. When you hug somebody, that's a remez ba'alma, meaning you surround them and they surround you. That's a hug. But that's just a remez, because you don't really surround them, just your arms surround them. But that's the remez to the. That's a remez. A hug is a very choshev thing. Very choshev thing. Okay. And this is the extraordinary, great, and wondrous advantage, infinite advantage, on the mitzvah of understanding Torah, on the understanding the concepts of Torah, and over all the mitzvahs, the physical mitzvahs. But I feel our mitzvahs are tliya b'dibur, even on the mitzvahs that are dependent on speech. But I feel our mitzvahs Talmud Torah shebedibur, even on the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, because Talmud Torah is not being masig something. This is one of the wonderful things about Tanya, is seeing in a lot of the other Chassidish Sfarim that I've seen, it's you get ideas, but the Tanya, the way the Tanya is so sichli as it is, it's Chabad, it's so seichel-dik that you really have to work on. I mean, we haven't actually touched in any tremendous ideas, but I think, Michael, you were there you've been with me and Gabrielle's been with me for the past, and Baruch as well, for the past year or so. We have understood some incredibly complex, deep ideas, yeah? Like that's and it's not a quick, it's not just oh wow, that's cute, that's nice, oh wow, that all ties in nicely. Talking about working hard to understand a concept. That's called Yediyas HaTorah. Reading through Tehillim or reading Pshat, getting Pshat in the Chumash, maybe not Chumash Rashi, but getting Pshat in the Chumash and just reading and understand, that's not Yediyas HaTorah. That's called with Dibur. That's just a basic understanding. But understanding in an oimek, like the way we do in the Gemara, yeah. But I feel even more so sometimes in Panemius, in the way that we learn in Chabad Chassidus. It's a different. It's because you're not trying to understand a machlokas between two people. You're just trying to understand an idea. Sometimes it comes out when you understand the machlokas between two people, you can understand an idea very deeply because you'll see there's no machlokas. Or sometimes you just understand that he holds this and he holds this. Whereas in Chabad Chassidus, you work hard to actually grasp deep ideas in Torah, and that is a very, very holy thing. That is a very, very Heidegger thing. So that's the milah of Yedias Torah over even the mitzvah of Talmud Torah Shebedibur. Ki al yedei kol mitzvah Shebedibur u'maisa. Because through all the mitzvahs of speech and action, the Kadosh Baruch Hu malbish es a nefesh, as we learned last week. Hashem surrounds the nefesh. Umakifa or Hashem merosh v'ad ragla. And the awe of Hashem, the light of God, surrounds the entire nefesh. Like we said, you becoming clothed within Hashem. That's why the talis is all merames to 613 with the tzitzis, and the whole thing is because whenever you do a mitzvah, you become enwrapped within the mitzvah, so to speak. If you want to understand that, go back to last week's class. Whereas with Talmud, with Yedias Torah, it's also a mitzvah. So there's the inyan of being enclosed within. But then there's the intellectual, the conceptual side of it, where your mind grasps the idea and your mind is grasped within the idea. So there's, in a sense, two makifim and one pneumian. There's the intellectual makifim, and then there's the actual mitzvah of then there's the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, which is also a makif. Okay, is everyone clear?
Not clear on the second point. You said your mind grasps the idea. The second point is that.
Okay, so I'll say it one time. When you understand an idea intellectually, a deep idea, let's say even in physics, lahavdil, okay? So you understand an idea in physics, yeah? You see where the idea begins and you understand where the idea ends. That's called grasping it. But at the same time, you're still delving into the idea. By definition, once you've understood it, your mind is trying to penetrate deeper and deeper. So on an intellectual level, when you understand an idea in physics, your mind surrounds the idea and your mind is surrounded by the idea. That's how the intellect works. Yeah? But then on top of that with Torah, that's the same with Torah, lahavdil. But on top of that, you've also got the Torah as a mitzvah. So there's just a mitzvah. Hashem wants you to learn Torah. So there's that other makif that we learned in chapter Dalet that we just learned just now, chapter 4. That a mitzvah itself surrounds the neshama, the soul. Okay? Ubiyadiyas Torah milvad exclusively sha'aseichu melubash b'chachmas Hashem hinei gam chachmas Hashem bekir boy, that the mind is enclosed within the wisdom of Hashem, but also the chachma of Hashem is enclosed within the mind. Whatever he's able to grasp. Like we said, there's madregas to grasping. Like there's Shaquille O'Neal's hand and my hand. So he can completely surround a baseball, or like, is there a thing called a softball? Isn't that a thing that you do in America? Like it's a bigger one. It's like a bigger ball. Yeah. So Shaq could probably get his entire hand around that, yeah? Or at least around a base. Can you get your hand around a baseball? You can't get your whole hand around a baseball. That's like I can get my whole hand around like a golf ball or ping pong ball. Yeah, but a baseball I'm like that, and then a softball I'm like that, and a basketball I can't do anything. Whereas Shaq with a bigger hand, you understand. So there's madregas of understanding. And that's exactly what he says here. According to your level, masig v'toifes and maki b'sichlei, masha ef shaloi litfois ulasig, whatever is accessible to him to understand. Miyadiyas Torah ish kafi sichlei, every man according to his level. V'koichid diasoi, and the power of his intellect. V'hasagasoi b'pardes, in the pshat remesh drush and side of the Torah. On each of these levels, there's the inyan of being masig. Okay, everyone's clear? It's quite straightforward. I mean, it's deep, but it's quite straightforward, yeah? Clear? Michael, you clear? Not so much. No, Michael Glazer. Michael, what can you articulate? What's not clear?
I don't know, I think I might be losing you a little bit.
So let's do a quick recap. It really is simple. You understand the idea of the process of intellectualizing with the concept. You understand a
Yeah.
concept, yeah? Your mind grasps the idea, yeah? And as
Right,
you grasp
yeah.
it, you penetrate deeper, so your mind is also immersed within the idea.
Right.
You understand that?
Yeah.
Yeah, simple. So all we're saying now is this idea, when it comes to Torah, is the Ribbono Shel Olam. He is enclosed in the idea. Him and the idea are enmeshed with each other. So now your mind is grasping the idea. That means you're grasping the Ribbono Shel Olam himself. He put himself, he enmeshed himself into the idea. What?
When we said low type is what you can never type it.
Exactly. Except through Torah. That's what he said, except through Torah. When you understand an idea in Torah, you are grasping God. You are understanding God. That's how it works. That's how he created reality. So that's it. In that sense, see, that doesn't happen with mitzvahs. With mitzvahs, you become clothed within the idea. Within the mitzvah, within the action. We learned that last week. I'm not going to get into that right now. But that's the milah of Talmud Torah.
Right.
It's like you ingest the Ribbono Shel Olam. And that's he's going to talk it out now. He's going to make it clear. B'ezrat Hashem. Okay. And since that in understanding the Torah becomes enclosed within the soul of the man and within his mind, and is surrounded within them, within the seichel and the nefesh. That's why the Torah is called lechem and mazon, bread and sustenance. Just like physical bread nourishes the body, when he ingests it, food doesn't do anything to you if you don't ingest it, yeah? But once you ingest it and digest it, now it mamash becomes a part of you. That food now is transformed into blood and flesh. It becomes a part of you. And therefore you will be able to live. So too, in understanding the Torah, that the mensch who delves in and grasps it deeply, until it mamash became understood clearly and became one with him mamash. It becomes like a nutrient. It becomes a nourishment for the nefesh. What is it that's nourishing him? What's nourishing his soul is the Ein Sof Baruch Hu, the Ribbono Shel Olam himself, that is clothed within that Chochmah and the Torah that is now within the nefesh. So the mashal is very simple. You've got a piece of food. It's got all these nutritional. It's got all of this nutrition attached to all of this. Let's just call it energy. Yeah. You ingest the food. Now your body processes the food, digests the food. You ingest the food. So now your body digests the food and processes the food and extracts the energy from the food, or the whatever it is it does, it extracts from the food, whatever the energy, and it converts it into the blood and the flesh of the person. Yeah, that's how food works. Very simple. If you don't eat, you waste away and disappear. So flesh and blood is created from the actual food. So too on a neshama level, the Torah that you ingest and process and understand and really grasp, that is disseminated into the, so to speak, the chomer, even though there isn't any physical chomer, the material of the nefesh, and becomes part of the nefesh. So like the old saying says, yeah, you are what you eat, yeah? Everyone knows that. You are what you eat. That's it. So too, when your mind is ingesting godliness, when your mind is ingesting the Ribbono Shel Olam, the Ribbono Shel Olam is becoming part of the fabric of the soul, not just the divine soul, the animal soul. Let's finish up. And this is what it says. David HaMelech says that your Torah is within my innards, like in my stomach. Began Eden, that the garments of the neshamas in Gan Eden, heim ha-mitzvahs. This is the mitzvahs. V'ha-Torah hamazon le-neshamas she'asku ba'olam hazeh b'Torah lishma. That's an important point. That the sustenance of the soul that is involved in this world in Torah lishma. Lishma, what's lishma? You're learning Torah for the Ribbono Shel Olam, to be makashe your soul to the Torah, but not for the sake of your soul. It's for the sake of the Torah, really. It's for the sake of the Torah. Ish kafi sichloi, every man according to the level of his mind. And then finish off with the parenthesis. So mazon he bechinas or panimi, the concept of nourishment, of mazon. How do you say mazon? Sustenance is the idea of an inner light. V'halevushim bechinas makifim, and in the Lashon of Kabbalah, that's the idea of makif. So mitzvahs are called makif, and Torah is called panimi.
Mitzvahs are makif. So
Mitzvahs are makif, and Torah is panimi. V'alevushim bechinas makifim. U'lechein amru Razal. This is what Chazal said. Shetalmud Torah shaku keneged kol hamitzvahs. That Talmud Torah is neged all the mitzvahs. It's weighed in contrast to all the mitzvahs. Levisha mitzvahs hein levushim levad, because mitzvahs are only levushim to the soul. When you do a mitzvah, you're becoming clothed within the mitzvah. But Torah he mazam v'gam levush lenefesh hamaskeles. But the mitzvah, but the Torah is this is the important point. When I said the nefesh Bahamas, that's not so that's kind of, but the most important part is the nefesh maskeles. Gabriel, you heard that? That the Torah he mazon gam levush lenefesh gam. Sorry, hey levush levad. The Torah he mazon. It's mazon v'gam levush lenefesh maskeles amislabesh ba be'iyuna v'limuda. That the nefesh maskeles, the intellectual soul, I'm not going to get into it now, becomes enclosed within. This is an important point, and all the more so when you speak words of Torah out your mouth. That the hevel, the actual words, so to speak, become like a surrounding light. So that's a very important thing as well, just on a practical level. Is learning Torah, you should always be articulating it out physically. There's a lot of good things that happen doing that. One of the things he mentions here is that the actual words come out and surround you as a surrounding light. Okay, so we'll quickly recap. I think it's quite straightforward now. Understanding an idea means that your mind surrounds the idea. And just like eating food, your body ingests the food, and then the food becomes part of the fabric of the body. So too, when we learn Torah, and we understand it clearly, deep concepts in Torah, and we get them clearer and clearer and clearer, just like our mind is grasping it, the actual Torah itself, which is one with Rabboni Shalom, just like the food is digested and the nutrients sustain the body and create the body, so too the Torah, which is one with Hashem, nourishes the soul from within. And it actually becomes a part of the soul. It becomes incorporated into the fabric of the soul, of the intelligent soul, of the human soul, of the animal soul, of the godly soul as well. That it becomes disseminated into the actual fabric of the soul. And that's why learning Torah is called mazon, why it's called bread and mazon, whereas mitzvahs, which don't have that, they don't, that phenomenon is not shaykh to mitzvahs, they're called makifim. They surround the soul. So the reason why Chazal said Torah, that shakul Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam, is that it has this added dimension of being ingested by the soul. Not just that the soul becomes enclosed within it like mitzvahs, that also happens, but this added dimension of the fact that the Torah is actually ingested into the soul, and that is machaye the soul from inside. And that's one of the reasons why the Torah is called, why it's described as being weighing the same as all the other mitzvahs, because that is a sad that only Torah has and no other mitzvah has. Okay, that's pretty. Hey, any questions?
Same way you want to eat foods that won't keep. Is there a chelik of Torah that would be considered the most like
Nourishing.
nutritional?
So Eliezer next to me just asked, just like there are certain foods that are more nourishing and certain foods that are less nourishing.
Also health.
Is there
health
and yeah, that mean like healthy? Is that the same with Torah? And I think that would be the case, yes. But I don't want to say that online what I think that would be. But I do think that understanding these ideas from my own personal experience, see, most people aren't even aware that the avodah of Chabad Hasidus exists. You realize that? Most Hasidim aren't even aware of it. Kol v'chomer, most people who don't have a kesh to Hasidus aren't aware that there's such an avodah of, like with Rav Nachman, it also exists. There's also an avodah of going through the Torah again and again and again, and getting it clearer and clearer and clearer, and understanding deep connections, etc. But in Chabad, it's not so much connecting the dots. In Chabad, it's like getting an idea really clear, like a deep idea. So sometimes you need two moshalim. Like there have been ideas that I've given over where you needed a moshul to understand the moshul to understand the nimshul. I'm not joking. That's a real. I mean, we did that, and we've done that a few times. And I found that these ideas are so godly, and I found that these ideas energize you to the point of like other people are quite amazed by the effect by the energy that you have and the rutzon you have for Torah, and I put it down to these ideas, and this is exactly what you just asked. The more you get these ideas deep, I see people grappling with ideas in yeshiva on a very a very pshat level, and I don't see the same kind of energy coming from them as you do from like the Chabadskas and stuff who are the Breslevers who are really putting their energy into understanding Panemius Dika ideas. I don't see that. So maybe I'm wrong, but that's just from my own personal experience. I think
that the Pashat Pshat, you might be right that you need to have that basis, but at the end of the day, they're all vitamins that are essential for the body. That's why it's Al Pi Halacha. You have to learn a little bit of all of the Torah every day, basically.
Absolutely, but you see that people don't do that. I mean, the general yeshiva world spends the whole.
Because Tosfos says you can be yotzi from learning Talmud Bavli.
Yeah, I understand. That's what Okay, shkoyach, everyone.
But I just want to say that I don't know what's going into that Lubavitcher Rebbe picture, but that is an amazing mushal. Are those coins? That's an amazing mushal. You can get stuck in the pieces and forget to see the Rebbe.